All right, so we saw that IGF-1 and growth hormone go up with resistance exercise. And really what that means is that you've got this high hormone environment. And, if you go online, there's all kinds of bro science out there on T Nation and other places where they say, oh, the hormones are all everything, and you got to jack yourself up and you got to do your workout plan so that your hormones are maximized. So listen, let's actually test this first. Okay, so what this group did, this is Dan West, this is the paper I gave you out of Stu Phillips' laboratory in Hamilton, Canada at McMaster University. What they did is they took one group of individuals, and they worked out one arm, and then they worked out the other arm together with the legs. And the arm that they worked out together with the legs, you can look before and after the exercise. That's because they're only looking at the arm. They do the leg exercise first to get the high hormone environment. And so when you start your arm exercise, before or after the arm exercise, the arm that's working out together with the legs has a lot more growth hormone, significantly higher growth hormone. So if growth hormone, IGF-1, I didn't show you the testosterone, but T Nation will be happy that testosterone goes up in both males and females with resistance exercise. So now those hormones are all really high in this high hormone group, and they're all really low in the low hormone group. So if the arm that worked out in the low hormone group doesn't grow as big and strong as the one that did in the high hormone group, then you know that the hormones are important. So they measure elbow flexor cross-sectional area. So you're doing lots of bicep curls, your bicep is going to grow. Oh, look at that. Exactly the same growth in the high hormone or the low hormone environment. Now, what about strength, though? It's all about strength. Oh, it's exactly the same. Once again, there's no difference in the high hormone group or the low hormone group. So then why are hormones going up? That's one of the things that people are wondering. One of the most important reasons that hormones are going up is that it's a stress. Anytime you have a huge stress on the body, hormones are going to respond. You're going to have a hormonal response to that, so that you can increase the amount of energy that you can generate by freeing more fat, by increasing glycogen breakdown. All of those things can be regulated by hormones. So those hormones all rise under the stress of resistance exercise. The hormone that best correlates with muscle growth is actually cortisol. Cortisol is thought to be a muscle catabolic hormone, but the increase in cortisol with your resistance exercise is actually the best correlated hormone with the increase in muscle mass and strength. It's likely because that's telling you how big the stress was. The bigger the stress, the bigger the stimulus for your muscle to grow, and the bigger the stimulus for your body to respond to, therefore cortisol goes up. So if you look at fat cells and other cells within the body, they're going to see the growth hormone and the other hormones. They're going to increase lipolysis. They're going to do other things that are going to supply energy for the muscle. They're going to help the recovery process. It's not about the growth or the increase in strength. One tissue that does respond to the high hormone milieu is your connective tissue. So if this is an experiment that Dan did when he came into the postdoctoral fellowship here at UC Davis, and what he did is he took people at rest, he took their blood, and then he took people who had done resistance exercise, or same people before they did resistance exercise. They lifted the legs really heavy. They got a nice increase in growth hormone and IGF-1. And then they took the blood 15 minutes after resistance exercise on the legs. And then what we did is we put that onto these little engineered ligaments that we make. So we make these little ligaments that are like human ligaments, but they're in a dish. And we can measure how much collagen they have, and we can measure how strong they are. And if you took the individual's serum before they did resistance exercise, and then you had them do resistance exercise and you took their serum afterwards, every single individual here, you can see that the post-resistance exercise serum increased the amount of collagen that their tendon cells or their ligament cells made, and it also increased the strength of the ligaments. Only in one individual did the strength of the ligament go down a little bit. So there was a significant effect on tendon and ligament. So on the exact things you'd think growth hormone would affect, growth hormone's primary target is one of its primary targets is collagen synthesis. So it makes sense that when the hormones go up, that's supporting the recovery and repair of the matrix and maybe the tendon and other structures within the body. So one of the big things that happens with the hormones is it targets these matrix proteins that are going to support the growing muscle. All right, so what I showed you in this series of videos was that IGF-1 can activate mTOR complex 1 through moving things to the membrane. IGF1 binds to its receptor, the receptor autophosphorylates, you get PI3 kinase moving up. After IRS1 moves up, PI3 kinase moves up. Oh, look, PIP2 is right there. PI3 kinase can phosphorylate that, make PIP3. That's going to move AKT or PKB to the membrane, and now it's going to get phosphorylated by PDK1 and and mTOR complex 2. When PKB is active, it can phosphorylate TSC2, and that's going to remove it from this small GTPase Reb, and Reb can now become activated, and it can turn on mTOR complex 1. I've told you that resistance exercise increases the circulating levels of testosterone, growth hormone, cortisol, and IGF1, as well as resulting in an increase in local production of IGF1 and other growth factors. If you take an animal and you overexpress IGF1 within their muscle, and you get a 47-fold increase or 50-fold increase over 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that muscle fibers around there are going to get huge. They're going to get up to 3 times bigger. But it's not required for the increase in muscle fiber size that happens with overload or with strength training. Growth hormone has no direct effect on muscle size or strength. It has a small effect on fat-free mass because it causes the body to hold a little bit more water, but it doesn't affect strength at all. It doesn't affect protein synthesis at the levels that they tested in the scientific studies. Whether jacking up a huge level, like a pharmacological level, well beyond that, like a bodybuilder would have that effect, we don't know. Even though growth factors can regulate muscle mass, and we've seen that, working out in a high growth factor environment with one arm shows no beneficial effect when you compare it to working out a different arm at a low growth factor environment. So the circulating growth factors don't really affect muscle mass or strength when you do resistance exercise. The hormones that are produced during exercise are probably in response to the stress of the exercise. We do know that they increase connective tissue collagen synthesis, and this might actually cause the muscle to become more resilient just by providing a better matrix that's better able to deal with the insults of exercise.